NJ.com and the Star Ledger welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights, with your hosts Steve Politi and Rutgers insiders Brian Fonseca and Pat Lenny. Let's start chopping.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the rant. Guess we got to fix the intro because it's just us two nerds now. What did they say on the message boards? We lost the least turdy of the three turds. Lanny's gone. We've got to do a new intro. We got to check the budget to see if there's enough money available for Keith Norton to do it in his basement.
It's too soon. I think Pat deserves a spot on the pantheon of the Rutgers Rant for at least another couple weeks.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Yeah, we'll leave him up there just in case he feels bad about leaving us after the Norfolk State game. But he's gone, and we got football to talk about, so let's do it. I don't know how much you want to talk about Norfolk State. I guess a little bit. A 60-10 win, and I was thinking this, and I'm like, is it possible to win 60-10 and have a bad day? Because that's kind of how I felt about it. The one thing you couldn't do was lose players. You came into the game before you even stepped on the field. Ian Strong, one of the three most indispensable Scarlet Knights, maybe two most indispensable Scarlet Knights. He's out. We don't have any details of the injury. Then you lose Tyler Needham, one of the five most at this point indispensable Scarlet Knights. You can't lose another left tackle. He leaves the game. I mean, CJ Campbell, one of the 15 most independent. It's a deep room, but he's certainly a guy they were counting on to be effective. Not the kind of day you wanted to have.
No doubt. And that was the number one thing coming to this game because you knew they were going to win. It was just a matter of how much they were going to win by and how they'd win. The one thing you wanted was to leave healthy, and it didn't look great. We'll go by order of severity. CJ Campbell, first play of the game. He goes down. It looks like his ankle got twisted in a bunch of while he was getting tackled. He was helped off the field, did not put any weight on his left foot. It looked like he hurt his ankle, and he was carted off the field. Andy Mills has a great photo, which if I was a professional, I'd have it up here. Let me look it up. But he had a boot on his foot, which is not in and of itself an indictment of a big injury, but combine that with no weight and the cart, that's a sign of, if not season ending, certainly long-term. Right.
Not playing this week or in the next couple. Yeah, I think you can count. You won't see him on the field for a while.
Correct. Which, look, Antoine Raymond has been the number one guy at running back, and he's been playing pretty well. He has 10 touchdowns in his last 5 games. But
that's pretty well. Yeah.
Pretty good. But Jashawn Benjamin, who's kind of in the CJ Campbell mold as more of a change of pace guy, he's going to have to play the biggest role of his career if CJ can't go. And then Sam Brown, it wasn't clear where he would figure into this equation. He's been questionable the first 3 weeks, but he suited up every game. Are you going to have to play him earlier than you wanted? And if Campbell is out for the year, are you going to have to play him beyond the 4 games and potentially not use his red shirt and have him lose eligibility for next year? Probably not. That's an extreme case, but these are questions you have to ask yourself now that you're down, your second running back.
I will say I'm not crazily concerned about this injury because I do think Jashawn Benjamin did not get enough carries in the first 2 games. I like him a lot. I liked him a lot last season. I think he'll slip into that role pretty well. I do. You're right. If another guy goes down, though, if Raymond gets hurt, he's now 4th on the list of players they can't lose, I'm sure. If he goes down, do you go to Ed Guerriere, who played pretty well in the late stages? Are we looking at that level of depth for the running back room? It's an interesting question. I don't know if Sam Brown's ready.
I think Sam Brown is ready, right? Again, he's suiting up, right? I think he's there in an ultra emergency case, right? So yes, if anyone else does go down, Sam Brown probably has to play. Right? I don't think they're at a point where he has to play right now, but the panic button or the break in case of emergency button is getting awfully close to being used. If one more body goes down, I think so.
Right. Okay. The other 2 injuries, what do we think's the next severity? I mean, we don't have any idea really.
We don't know 100%, but I think it's close in the sense that Tyler Needham gets off the field, but he's seen doing burpees next to the injury tent, and there's a report on the message board. Someone sitting in 127 saw him mouth to somebody on the stands that he was okay. Right, that he's doing fine. He's walking off under his own power, and he didn't go back in the game, but none of the other starters went back in the game on the series after he went out. Right, so I think that Rutgers avoided anything major there. Right, I can't say for sure he'll play against Iowa, but I seem pretty confident if he misses any time, it'll be minimal. Same with Ian Strong. I think it's clear that if if they weren't playing Norfolk State, if they were playing a team with a pulse, he would have been able to give it a shot, right? I think if the Iowa game was this Saturday, he would have played against Iowa. Greg Schiano said it was kind of a continuation of a tweak against Miami of Ohio. I'm guessing it's when that defensive back held him down by his jersey and pushed him down. But I just, it didn't get the sense, especially watching him walk around the sideline in street clothes, getting off the bus for the Scarlet Walk. I did not get the sense that this was a long-term injury at all, even if Greg Schiano is saying that he's hopeful that he'll get Ian Strong back in the coming weeks.
Yeah,
that feels like more of a smoke screen than it does a real concern,
I heard that. I was like, what? I feel that way too. And that to me is just this year. I mean, you go from me feeling pretty good that Rutgers might beat Iowa to, feeling the exact opposite without Ian Strong. He is that kind of player. He just is, and you didn't see it in this game, obviously against Norfolk State, but I mean, maybe a little early on you did, I mean, he's just the guy their go-to guy. And the offense looked a little out of sync early in that game. And I get it. They scored 60 points, Ethan Calicmanis threw for 357, whatever it was. It was an offensive explosion. Everyone scored. It was a happy game. But when they went out there early in that game, and you looked at the way they were lined up, they had KJ Duff 6'6" against a 5'2" cornerback. I'm sorry, I'm kidding, but certainly someone who was a mismatch of the you thought they were going to just score 28 points on offense just automatically. The game did not unfold the way I expected. I think most fans, there was some grumbling. I was in section 126 and people were losing patience with the conservative play calling. I mean, admittedly, a little dopey that we all were, come on, throw the ball. But, for the most part, it certainly wasn't the offense that I thought we were going to see.
Yeah, look, to me, sitting in the press box, I thought they were experimenting, right? They had the first two games, essentially, a majority of Ethan's passes went to wide receivers, and they were dominated against MAC defenses. And then you're playing against an FCS team, and even without Ian Strong, you're not finding guys on the outside. It feels like they were trying to experiment throwing to the tight end and the running back. Greg Schiano said it's because Norfolk State is doing a lot of defense. I'm not quite sure what that means, but if it means they're overloading on the wide receivers, wouldn't that mean that the tight ends and running backs would be more open and would be getting more than 3 yards a chunk, right? So I just, none of it really, listen, I'm not doubting Greg Schiano. Obviously, he knows more than me on this. I'm just saying, if that was going to be the rebuttal, I think that they should have gotten more production. And clearly, when they started throwing to the outside, KJ Duff making circus passes and DT Sheffield getting wide open down the field, like it felt like Rutgers could have gotten whatever it wanted offensively, and eventually they did. It just seemed like it was more experimentation than it was real struggles against a Norfolk State secondary.
Right. And I think this is when we have to say that we're really not talking enough about how brilliant, how good Ethan Calicmanis has been. Like, I don't think that narrative, and part of it is because he is really like, he's the least self-promoting type of person. Every interview is about, he'll mention his right guard before he'll ever take a second to say, yeah, I think I'm playing pretty well. But, the numbers, and you had in your story this morning, your 10 observations about the game, the numbers that jump out to me, again, that adjusted completion percentage of 80%, number one. Given he was in the 50s for most of his career getting here, we thought he was a low percentage passer, and then 0 turnovers. And I can't remember a single ball that was like, like you thought might be an interception. I mean, those are two things. That's a high level of football he's playing.
To your point, PFF has a stat for that: turnover-worthy plays, where it throws that maybe don't turn into interceptions that could have been interceptions. 0 this year through 3 games. 7 touchdowns. I would love to go back to 2019 in the middle of October and tell a Rutgers fan that in 6 years' time, you would have the number 1 graded offense in college football on PFF and the quarterback with the number 1 passing grade of all quarterbacks in college football. Like, their mind would have been exploding. I wanted to tell them that the day after they threw for 1 passing yard against Indiana, just how unfathomable it would be.
Yeah, it'd be great. And their first reaction would be, wow, with our defense, we must be really in great shape. The expectation, that would be it. And you're like, oh, sorry there, son. Apologize. I'm going back to the future now. You'll see what happens. Yeah, that would be the reaction. And again, I guess, the defense, it just hasn't looked. And I thought this would be the game that you'd see a dominant defensive line performance. And it just wasn't again. 2 sacks. First, one of the sacks was one of these again, where like everybody on the defense seemed to touch the quarterback before someone finally brought him down. It just wasn't that level of, you just thought you're playing a team like Norfolk State, a lower level school, that this is one that a Big Ten line should dominate. Didn't see that. Certainly played well, but just didn't see that. Norfolk State ran the ball for more than 100 yards. And then you're starting to see some troubling numbers from the secondary, right? I mean, I thought this game would make you feel better about the defense going into Big Ten play. Did not.
Agreed. Yeah, I did not see the level of domination I wanted to see from the defensive line. We did see a turnover, right? Jet Eli got the easiest interception of his life, probably, with that lollipop thrown up to him. Look, the most concerning thing was the fact that Norfolk State got a decent amount of push and was able to run a decent amount against Rutgers defense, right? It was something like 5 yards per carry, which someone tweeted out they had 1.7 yards per carry against Towson, right? So that's not a great sign. I feel less confident with this defense. I think obviously it's beneficial that your first Big Ten game is against Iowa, that despite having a new quarterback is the same horrendous offense and can't get anything going. So this is the Big Ten version of an FCS team where if you can't get good defensively against Iowa, then you're really concerned for, the Oregons and Ohio States or whatever. But no, I did not get the warm fuzzies coming out of this game.
All right, before we dive into Iowa, let's just go through some of the young guys who did play, because I think there's a lot of interest in seeing them out there. Obviously, AJ Serace passed his first test. What were your impressions?
I thought he looked good, right? Again, it's the second team offense against Norfolk State's second team defense, or really tired first team defense. I don't really know, to be honest, but the ball was going to the right place. He was patient. He had a really nice throw to Michael Thomas for a second touchdown. Just threw it, as Matt Millen said, the only place where he can catch it, or a place where only he could catch it. Poised. Again, low pressure situation, but I think it's hard to imagine a better debut for him than that.
Yeah, 16 true freshmen played in the game, which is impressive. The receivers, young receivers, the thirds, I guess we can call them. Vernon Allen, the third, left the game with an injury, but not before he caught a touchdown pass. Michael Thomas, the third. I thought that was the second. Well, certainly the second nicest catch in the game, because KJ Duff's catch on the sideline where I was sitting, we were, well, that can't be a catch. That's got to be overturned. And they showed on the scoreboard. Like, oh wow, no way, that's a catch. That was incredible. But both those kids, I mean, you're looking at a situation now where you're playing next level. Okay, when Rutgers has got a pipeline going finally. So when Ian Strong goes to the NFL, which he might at the end of this year, if he's healthy, comes back and continues to play like this. You got a couple of guys behind him, which is great. Greg Shanno's talked about this for years. The pipeline, as long as they can keep them and pay them, keep them happy, get the ball to them, prove that the offense is going to be like this. That's good.
The pipeline is alive and well on offense, which again is a surprise, right? You'd think that a defensive team like this would have a defensive pipeline. That's obviously not been the case. It just feels like Rutgers can never get both going at the same time. It's just incredible that after years of struggling offensively, they figure it out, and now they have collapsed defensively, really. Yeah. But yeah, look, the future is good. I think I'm not quite. I think there's a question later here about how confident one would be if AJ Serace had to step into a Big Ten game, if it changed after what we saw yesterday. I'm still right around the same thought process I was before the season, where I don't think if anything goes down for whatever reason, the season completely craters. But I think it's unfair to AJ Serace to think that he'll come in and the Rutgers offense will not miss a beat. I would put it at, if it's 1 to 10, I would put it at a 6.
Yeah,
7.
I was going to say 5. I was going to say 5 because of that same reason, and it's because of the turnover situation. I do really think that's a thing. A young quarterback is going to come in here and turn the ball over, and I think we're going to be in a situation when Rutgers is not going to have, a level of mistakes that they can't make mistakes and win games in the Big Ten based on where their defense is. The margin of error is not going to be high, and I think the fact that you're looking at a situation now where Ethan is not turning the ball over, not putting the ball at risk, putting the ball in the right situations constantly, that's going to be what wins games for this team. And I'm not confident that a freshman quarterback, even a good one, is going to be able to do that. So as talented as it is, I'm putting out a 5. Yeah.
Obviously, in an ideal scenario, we don't find out the answer to that question. But we'll know if it ever happens.
other kids that played that stuck out to you, Chris Vigna, a true freshman on the offensive line, to me is impressive to see. He looked the part. I'm trying to think of anybody else. Did anybody else stand out to you among the young guys we wanted to see?
I mean, it was the fourth quarter. The game was over. I was putting the final touches on my story. I got to be honest. I don't think much stock.
I was on the turnpike. That's when I was finishing touches on my drive home.
Right. So I think that you can only take so much from that. It's good that they got in the game, got the experience of playing on a game day and all that good stuff. But I mean, there were 10,000 people in the stands, and the team was up by 7 touchdowns.
Right.
Kind of. Yeah, not exactly a pressure-packed situation here.
It makes it hard. Listening to the broadcast on the way home, and it was. I can only describe it as story time with Fooch. That's what the fourth quarter is. When Carlin goes, Fooch, what do you got for us? And then Fooch is like, let me tell you a story about this guy, Chris Vigna. He plays for the Bergen Catholic Crusaders up there in Bergen. Like he just starts telling it's great. I mean, it's great radio. Believe me, I would have listened to a fifth quarter just to hear story time with Fooch. Be great.
I mean, me too, especially if he speaks in that 1920s broadcaster voice that you just threw out there. So
is that a good Fooch impression? I don't know if it was. I have to work on that.
There are no Fooch impressions that could match the actual Fooch. So don't
impossible.
Even,
you're right.
Who is an avid listener of this podcast. So hopefully he's listening to this and isn't offended by. Or maybe he tells us that he listens to this podcast to help himself fall asleep. We're a calming voice apparently to him. So hopefully he's asleep by the time this segment comes up.
Or maybe he'll hear his name and he'll wake up. Like he'll think his daughter's calling him or something. What was that? Who's calling my name? That's weird. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Can't wait to hear about this week.
I can't wait. Yes, at least it'll be something he can talk about other than Daniel Jones. He's harassing me about Daniel Jones playing well for the Colts. That's what's going on in my text chain right now. Answering Fooch texts about, I don't care about Daniel Jones. I barely care about the Giants. 0-2. Daniel Jones. Oh God. If he's good with the Colts, I'm never going to live that down. All right. Anyway,
I'm going to let you know that there are people listening to this podcast that know how much Fooch is torturing you with this, and will join in on Fooch. Every time Daniel Jones throws a touchdown, you will get a text.
Oh, absolutely. Now I've opened myself up to not just to Fooch impersonators, as if the real deal's not bad enough. Now I'm going to get it. I'm going to get 8 people like, a bunch of Fooches happy about Daniel Jones when he throws for 3 touchdowns against the Titans next week, or whatever the hell they're playing. All right, let's move on to Iowa. Big game, big game. And you made this observation, and it's funny. Like I saw the ESPN did the top 39 teams that are undefeated, and Rutgers is 32nd on that list. And it's funny when you look at them, you look at all the teams in there. I don't know. I think Rutgers is better than a couple of them that were higher. I think better than Maryland, better than, some you see on the list. And this is a chance to find out, really. Like this is going to be, these next 3 games are winnable games, are toss-up games. Right. I mean, and with each one, the level of excitement is going to grow. Like if you're a Rutgers fan right now, you should be extremely excited to beat Iowa, chance to beat Iowa for the first time, blackout, Friday night, big crowd, everything you want. And if you get that one, then you go up and you play a Minnesota team that's beatable. And if you get that one, then you play a Washington. I think each game, the competition might get, I don't know, a little bit better. Certainly harder to win on the road. Then Washington's a better team than Minnesota. But yeah, the opportunity is there for this team now.
No doubt. I call it the prove it period, and I think that it will determine where the season is going. You have to win at least one of them, right? If you don't win one of these next 3, a bowl game is essentially not going to happen. If you win 2 of them, you're ahead of the curve, you create margin for error, and you give yourself a chance of doing something special. If you win all 3, I mean, you're talking about an unforgettable season where, 1, you're playing with house money because you're already in a bowl game, and 2, you're maybe going to be ranked, and 3, you're going to strike fear into an Oregon, into Illinois.
Yes,
and
you play all 3. You're hosting that team. You're hosting Oregon. That's like the biggest game since Louisville, essentially, since 2006. If you're undefeated and you're playing an undefeated Oregon team, which is probably the best, it certainly looks like the best team in the country. I mean, that'd be a lot of fun. That's a national game. So that's what's at stake. And I get it there. I mean, we're talking about, just beat Iowa, right? I mean, I think people might sign for winning 1 of the 3. Again, you're right. 2 of the 3 is going to, you're on the way to a very good season, but man, it's possible to get all 3.
I think the goal, I know Rutgers fans aren't on the team, right? But I think what they should aspire to is to win 2 of the 3. I think if you win 2 of the 3, that's a highly successful stretch here. And I think Iowa probably has to be one of them because you're playing them at home and they're probably the weakest of the three. To your earlier point about the 32 out of 39 undefeated teams, I think that's another example of Rutgers in the national landscape. Their perception is still one of, they're not 2016 Rutgers, but they're still a team that has to prove itself, right? And maybe winning against Iowa and Minnesota isn't going to be that big splash, but Rutgers has to slowly but surely continue to convince people that this is a different program than it was 10 years ago. And the best way to do that is to have a huge top 10 upset. The next best way to do that is just to keep beating teams at your level. And there's never going to have a better chance of doing so than the next 3 weeks, three games, I should say.
Right. Yes. And I think this would be, again, this team is there for the taking. Like I watched a little bit of Iowa versus Iowa State. They don't look particularly, fearsome in any way, really. I mean, defensively, I know they're always good, but the offense stinks. I guess I come back to this and it's like, can Rutgers get enough defensively to beat a mediocre to bad offense? I just want to see, if Norfolk State can run the ball against them, I'm worried that Iowa's going to run the ball against them. And then it could be one of these games where you just can't get them off the field. Right. And then you're counting on the offense to be flawless to win. That's not a winning formula. I don't know if we're at that level yet. But a good enough defensive performance that gets it into the fourth quarter where Rutgers either has the lead or has a chance to win. That's what I'm looking for.
100%. We'll break it down more later in the week in our preview, but I think the game will be determined by how well Rutgers defense will play. I think the offense, no matter how good Iowa's defense is, will put up points. I think if this is a track meet, Rutgers will be in a bad spot because I trust Iowa's defense to get a big stop in the fourth quarter infinitely more right now than I trust the Rutgers defense to do so, even against Iowa's Sisters of the Poor offense.
Right. All right. You're right. We will talk about that. Come back later in the week and make picks on that game as we always do. So let's answer some questions. We got some good ones this week. Chris Edwards on X wants to know, you need to start making predictions on home game attendance. We know they'll announce a sellout against Iowa, but will there actually be over 40,000 in the stadium on Friday night? Good question. I mean, if you could go to one game this year, certainly feels like this would be the one. We should go to this one. I took my son to his first game, and it's funny. Like you want to see how what his observations are, fresh set of eyes, and of course he's a teenager, so it's like a fresh set of cynical eyes. And he made a couple of good ones. He's like, well, looking around at the crowd, like a lot of empty seats. And I said, well, it's not a good competition. And then later on, he did make the observation where he's like, can you take me to a good game? That was a good one. Can we go to a good game next time? It's like, well, I worked the good games. It's why you're at this one. Those were the two observations. But he was, everything else, he enjoyed the atmosphere, had a good time, loved the boardwalk, all that stuff. But yeah, people got to get to your seats. You got to go. Got to be over 40,000. I think I would be surprised if we did not feel like it was the Washington game a year ago.
Yes, I think the Washington game is a clear barometer for how big this game is. I think people will show out for that game. I think I would be surprised if this game isn't an announced sellout. I would be surprised if, of the 52,000 seats, 54,000 seats, 50,000 of them aren't filled. I could see a little bit of small pockets. Iowa is a better traveling fan base than Washington, so I could certainly see more Hawkeyes here than Huskies were last year. So yeah, I think it'll be a big time atmosphere. And to your point, Rutgers is 3-0, has a fun offense, which typically gets more crowds than good defense. And it's a Friday night, and it's supposed to be beautiful out. I just cannot think of many excuses for people not to show up to this game, right? Usually there's a ton of them. This one, aside from maybe trying to avoid Friday afternoon turnpike traffic, feels like the excuses are thin for this one.
Yeah, leave early. Route 18 sucks. River Road stinks. Get there at 4:00. Bring a sub. If you don't have a tailgate, buy some food on the boardwalk. Yeah, there is no excuse for this one. All right, some more questions. Someone wanted to know about Michael Vick. I'm curious what your impressions are. Is Michael Vick's the transformative hire, bringing buzz who can bring buzz to Virginia Tech football and bring it back? Or do you think they go with someone with more experience? If you're not paying attention, Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry after he lost badly to Old Dominion. I mean, the kind of score that flashes up and you go, oh, that guy's getting fired. I saw that score. Oh, that's it for him. And sure enough, it was it for him. I don't think Michael Vick's the guy, though.
I don't know if Michael Vick will ever be the guy. I know he is not the guy after his first 3 games at Norfolk State. That just feels like if Michael Vick wasn't the greatest quarterback in the history of Virginia Tech football, they wouldn't think twice.
No.
And I think the other obvious choice that they're going to look at is Shane Beamer, the son of Frank Beamer, the legendary Hokies coach. He's doing really well at South Carolina, which is in the SEC and an infinitely better position than Virginia Tech. I think he would be insane.
Yeah.
Yes. There's absolutely no reason to take that job other than the fact your father was the legendary coach there and you grew up in Blacksburg. So they're going to have to look at high-end group of 5 coaches and hope that one of them is a guy that can move up to an underfunded league, a program that's lost some of its mystique, and revive it. I'm not sure that guy exists, but that's what Virginia Tech has to do these days.
Other than muscle memory, I'm not sure why that's a good job. Like, I get it. It was a great job. It had it going. It was one of the big programs, big fan base, loyal place, but I don't know. ACC, a fan base that's not given the same way that the SEC schools are apparently as far as NIL stuff goes. Yeah, I just don't know why a coach with better prospects would go there. I think that's going to be a tough job. All right, let's see what else we got. Should we be done with these games versus opponents like Norfolk State? We talked about this on the podcast before. I think the world should be, but the world's not. I mean, we saw a bunch of them this week, and they were all like this. Like every one of these games between a big team and a Norfolk State was like this.
The only way this stops is there's 2 or 3 ways. One, the leagues obligate their members to stop scheduling FCS teams, or the NCAA does, which I don't really see that happening outside of like forced schedule alliances between the leagues, which is possible. 2, the TV networks stop rewarding them. Like they just stop putting these games on TV, which is never going to happen because a college football game is great inventory that's going to rack in people anyway, because there are a lot of degenerate gamblers aside from fans of these Power 5 programs. And 3, fans just stop showing up, right? Just don't go to these games and make it like, it's one thing for it to be half empty. It's another for it to be completely empty, right? Like if fans speak with their wallet, stop showing up. Maybe, but I just don't see any of those happening. And it's too valuable for the football team itself to get 1, an easy win, 2, an ability to test things out and give their younger guys some playing time, and 3, a pseudo rest period for their starters who they're able to pull after 2 or 3 quarters. I just don't see, unless they're obligated to change this, them changing it.
Right. Totally agree. All right. Another question. Although UMass's offense and defense rank among the worst in college football, does the 47 points Iowa put up suggest their offense is better than originally thought, especially in light of Rutgers' weak defense? We should give Iowa a little bit of credit. Kirk Ferentz became the winningest coach in Big Ten history in that game. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Give him credit for sticking around there. 206 wins, topping Woody Hayes of all people. So yeah, I mean, the guy knows how to win. We can certainly say that. And not going to go down without a fight. Like, I don't think that this is a program that they always have winning seasons. This is as big a game for them as it is for Rutgers for the trajectory of their season. Though, no, I'm not feeling better about their offense based on one game against UMass.
UMass lost to Bryant, which is a middling FCS team. So UMass might as well be a middling FCS team. I take nothing from this. Chris Ash, his teams put up monster numbers against horrible teams, and as we saw, their offense was horrendous, right? So let's not even against the UMass, their quarterback didn't have a big game, right? Which tells you a lot. So no.
Yeah. It's clearly yep. I wouldn't read anything into it. All right, we answered the Serace question. Those are pretty much all the good questions we have here. Well, we have another NAL question. I think we talk about this a lot, but during the Duke Tulane game Saturday, that new Duke quarterback who left Tulane has a 2-year deal worth $3 to $4 million a year, with Rutgers players leaving for Louisville and Miami on D for big money. Is there any world where Rutgers can compete in this environment? How much better could our D be with these players? Certainly, I mean, without question, they'd be better. I mean, and I think that's what, that's it. That's the next step. We see what Kelly Zinn's got up her sleeve, right? Like we had at least now, like if you're looking for reason to hope, and I get it, you're not going to outspend Miami. Let's just be clear on that. Like some of these programs are going to have more money than Rutgers always. Like surprising Duke's one of them right now, but But I guess that's it. Like what can Kelly Zinn do to add to the NIL totals? Where can she find the resources? That's her first priority. And if you have any hope, at least you have someone doing it, right? It's not like the old days where you had an athletic director playing golf, disinterested, almost working against you in these categories.
Here's what I'd say about the Duke thing. Duke spent all that money on that quarterback, and they just lost to the team from where they poached that quarterback, right? So just paying a guy a bunch of money doesn't automatically mean you're going to become better. There's also an allocation of resources kind of deal where maybe you have less money than other teams and you could spend it more wisely in different places, right? So that's one thing. Two, to your point, yes, for the umpteenth time, in theory, Rutgers is in a better position to collect NIL money than it was before because anything is better than zero effort. And I think Kelly Zinn will put in significantly more effort. I think that it would be good for everyone, the fan base, and especially Kelly Zinn, to stop comparing her to her predecessor and just kind of judge her on what she does, which we won't be able to do for a few months. But I found myself doing that, a lot of comparisons, and I'm trying myself to stop because I don't think it helps anybody. We could just start judging Rutgers and the athletic department as a serious department now that there's a serious person in charge, and let the past be the past.
Right. It's like the line from Secession where it's, you're just not serious people. Now we've got a serious person. Let's see what she does. It's not going to happen overnight, but let's see what we're talking about. Is there a way next off season where there's a little bit more money in the kitty? We're going to find out.
And to be clear, it's not like Rutgers didn't spend any money on this roster. We know how much their starting safety is making because of a court case, right? So it's not like there's not money being spent. They're not spending $2 million a year on a quarterback. That's because they have a really good situation with Ethan Kaliakmanis and with AJ Serace in the future. So maybe they don't have to spend money in that position, but it's not like Rutgers is, having these guys over here for a scholarship and a good time and a lesson on how to become an adult. These guys are getting paid money to play. We just don't know how much, which is the issue.
What's your guess what do you think they're spending on the quarterback? That's a good debate. You said not $2 million?
Well, clearly not, right? I mean, the Duke kid is on the high end of what these kids are making, right? There's a reason it was shocking when that number came out. But the issue is that there's no transparency in this, so it's impossible to know. I think, and I'm speaking this in general, because I don't know the situation at Rutgers or anywhere else. I think in general, it's a safe assumption that the quarterback, the most important position on the field, is making the most money of anybody, right?
Yes.
Either quarterback or an edge rusher or a left tackle. Those are the three positions I see being the most highly paid. I don't know if that's the case at Rutgers right now. I would be surprised if it isn't, right?
Right. It's got to be. No question it is. A returning quarterback who had a good year. I get it. He wasn't in the portal, but they have a $15 million budget right now for as through the revenue sharing, whatever is on top of that they've raised beyond it. I'm going to give you a number. You tell me over under on Ethan. Okay. 750 over under.
That's the number I had in my head, right? That's the number that makes sense to me.
Right.
Listen, let's not pocket watch here. I think the issue is that I would love for these numbers to be transparent, right?
Oh, I would too. Yeah.
It would just make this conversation so much easier and take away what this is, which is baseless speculation. Right. But yes, if I had to guess, that would be the number that I would guess.
Right on the money.
Yeah.
And we're guessing again, everyone, please, just two jackasses guessing. All right. What else we got? Not a great week for our former Rutgers head coaches. I put that down. Chris Ash was getting torched. I feel bad for Chris Ash. That's how I kind of felt watching that game. He's not a bad dude. This feels like a career-killing type year. Like he is a one loss away from being unhireable at some of these on this level. Like I hate to say it, but that Notre Dame team goes 8-4. It has a couple more games like this. That's rough.
I don't think Rutgers fans are feeling particularly bad for him. I think I saw a lot of people relishing in him.
Yeah, I did too.
Speed running. Like he is speed running how to get fired as a defensive coordinator at a Power 5 team. I thought he was borderline unhireable before this. I was kind of surprised Notre Dame took this plunge, and I think Notre Dame fans that were weary are being proven right. He seems pretty stubborn. I didn't watch the game in depth. It seems like he's just sticking to the zone defense that was getting just carved up. The one thing I will say is that his two losses are to two teams that are in the top 15, right? It's not like he was playing Northern Illinois like they did last year and lost. But it is funny that by the second game of his tenure in South Bend, they're asking the head coach, like, are you going to strip this guy of play calling duties or what? Right. Like, that's a rough look, man.
Yeah, it's not good. And they got to go 10 and they got to go 10-0 the rest of the way, right? To make the playoff. Does 9-3 Notre Dame team get in, you think?
No. I mean, they're done. They're cooked.
You think
I
they're
mean, I
done
said that
already?
last year, and I was wrong last year when I said they were cooked and they made the national championship game.
Yeah.
But I think in a just world,
And it's
where
it's not a just world. A just
not a just-
world. It's college football. Just world.
in the Brian Fonseca dominated college football world, Notre Dame would be kicked out of the playoff right now. Like they just had no chance of coming back in. But it's Notre Dame. It's college football. It's a 12-team playoff. If they win the next 10 games, yes, they'll be in there. Should they though? No.
Right. And meanwhile, Kyle Flood, you think you're getting Arch Manning, you're going to get the next Peyton, and it turns out you're getting, maybe he's not the quarterback we thought he was going to be, or is that too soon to say that?
Probably too soon, though the signs aren't great. You bring up an interesting point, though. I had not thought of this. When people go through the blame game of whose fault it is for Arch Manning not living up to the ungodly levels of hype he had coming into the season, at what point do you get to Kyle Flood?
I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. Yeah, I don't think he's calling the plays. I know he's not calling the plays. So, right. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's the OC, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's the OC. Yep.
That's his title. So I'm just saying, like, Paul Feinbaum will be pointing fingers in every single direction, right? Yeah. Sark will have some blame. Arch will have some blame. I mean, he won't blame himself for giving the kid way too much hype, but he'll have some blame. But I'm just wondering, I'm just excited for the barrage of tweets of like, Kyle Flood has ruined a Manning. Get him out of
what hasn't happened. He's been skating. I haven't seen that. Have you seen it? I don't know.
I have not seen it. And I think it makes me think more and more that Kyle Flood has the perfect job. High position, well paid, floating under the radar. Right. I forget he's on Texas every time it comes up. Right. Just kind of there.
And out of the two, and this is funny, like if I were a Rutgers fan, which of the two former coaches would you have more anger toward? Be Flood. I mean, I get it. Like Ash was just bad at his job, but he inherited a mess because of Kyle Flood, right? I mean, like that's kind of what, Kyle Flood inherited like a Maserati, and but it was in the chop shop by the time he left, right? I think that's an easy one. I don't know.
I think rationally, yes. I think the fact that Kyle Flood had some success, right, first year in the Big Ten, and the depth of Chris Ash's ineptitude were so bad that they just make people viscerally upset. Like I tweeted out the screenshot of him again at Notre Dame over a tweet of Marcus Freeman debating whether to take out his play calling duties or not. And I think when people see his face, they get just upset, off instinct. It just makes them, they see red. But I think Kyle Flood, people are kind of, I think time has softened the Kyle Flood outlook. I think when I think of him in Princeton in a disguise trying to convince a teacher to change his grade, it's just goofy to me. I think it's kind of funny at this point. Whereas, Chris Ash was so bad that people get so mad at just the thought of his name.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's a good debate, though. I'm not sure which one. I'm not sure which one should be more anger toward. All right, what else we got? Oh, I saw this. This is great when this popped up and everyone in the stadium went wild. Rutgers men's soccer beating Penn State. Big win. I feel like they're doing it. I don't remember what you said. Did you say something? Someone tweeted back at you like, your face, Fonseca. I don't know. What did you say about men's soccer? I don't remember this. Was I on the show that week when you said it? Must have been.
You were, yes. We were arguing, not arguing. We were discussing where every coach in the department stands and which one might be on the hottest seat. And we all agreed that Coquise Washington had the hottest seat, and Jim McElderry probably number 2 after kind of the downslide after winning the Big Ten a few years ago. And they're playing pretty well to start, right? But so is every other Rutgers team, really. I mean, volleyball has more wins in the first 9 games than they did all of last year. Granted,
really?
They didn't play anybody, but they're 7-2. Mm-hmm. And let me update the record here. I'm glad you brought this up. Through roughly a month and a week of the Kelly Zinn era, Rutgers teams have 19 wins, 6 losses, and 5 ties.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Sure. Right. And that's field hockey beat UConn on the road. That's a rank win I saw.
Yes, but they lost to Princeton. Candace Lanny won the Lanny Bowl yesterday.
Right.
And I think that's why Pat left the pot, is because he knew that result was coming and he didn't want to have to defend the Scarlet Knights. So he just kind of slinked away.
Yeah. As we talk about like how we're going to replace Lanny, wouldn't it be great just to have Candace Lanny back? And we can just in the introduction and Candace Lanny, we could just wouldn't it be great? Just put her picture there. That's a good idea.
It would be. It would be.
Yeah.
And I think field hockey is one of the more interesting teams in the school, right? Because they're good and they play a bunch of other good teams. So, I mean, they have a bunch of losses, but they're all to ranked teams. And listen, I can't decipher it. Candace Lanny certainly would be a better judge of that than us. So I don't know. It's something to kick around.
That's good. All right. We're taking suggestions. If you have any potential guest hosts, we wouldn't mind having some people coming on the show, people who can be to talk about what's going on. If you have any ideas, please let us know. You know how to reach us. Discord's buzzing, X, email, MySpace, whatever else you got. All right. Are we done? Anything else? What are we forgetting?
Well, you and I will be at Rutgers men's basketball practice tomorrow for their media day, and it will be our first glimpse and most people's first glimpse at this team with a lot of new faces. I'm excited to see them. I don't know if I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. Is there anything in particular that you are looking forward to seeing, or have any major questions you're looking to get answered tomorrow?
I mean, I want to be able to look at the team and see something that just stands out as like, okay, that's a question answered, right? Like I just want to see. And that's the thing I come back when people ask me about this team. Like I just, every single position, every single player, everything about it. Like I just don't have anything where I feel it's a sure thing. Some more sure than others, but you know, are these international kids ready to play? Are the guards ready to play? You know, I mean, everything. There's not a single position where I've got a level of confidence. So if I could just walk out there and see the proof of concept from Steve Peichel, I will feel better about this.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much same. I'm looking for clarity on the Dorian Jones situation. I'm going to assume he's going to become eligible,
Right.
but I would
Yeah.
like to know.
I forget all about him. Is he going to play if he's eligible?
Right. I mean, that's even a great question, right? Like, even if he is able to play, is he
Yeah.
at a point where he can play? Great question. I'm curious to see Bay Fall, like how he looks, right? Like, I mean, in an ideal world, he's starting over Emmanuel Boy, because if he's not, that's not a great sign. And I'm curious to see how close this team looks to the vintage Steve Peichel, suffocate the ball, play hard on defense, and win on that end. Like that
Right.
clearly is the path that they're trying to go to, the blueprint for success. How close are they to looking like a team that could win on that end? I'm curious to see that.
Right.
And it does help that defense is going to be going against the Rutgers offense. So
there you go. Right.
we'll try not to take too many big picture takeaways from that, but that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, everyone looks good in practice, even a bad basketball team. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll talk about that. We're gonna have a show later in the week to make our Iowa predictions. We'll talk about the basketball men's media day, and yeah, we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.